for that. They do have 4 season entries for Hertz Jota Racing. And John Church actually running the JDC car with my other car is a Porsche in on the side of that car. So Nick Damon has the 0-1 and the 1-0 coming towards him now. Get them the right way around, please.
Well, the yellow one's the 0-1 and the blue and black one is the 1-0. They are obviously having a full service. Driver change on both of them, so Sebastian Bourdais and Ricky Taylor getting out. Also, we now have the Whelen Engineering Cadillac that's coming in as well. That's a 31. So these three on very, very similar strategy. We won't get Alex Lynn in the other Cadillac. Of course, he did a splash and dash. It's Jack Aitken getting into the car and Pipo Derani getting out. I can tell you that. The other's a bit too far away for his notice. Other piece of news, as the 01 came in, the Cecilar 47 Ferrari 296 just drove in and went behind the wall. They've got a lot of bodywork to fix. Away goes the 01. So bad news for the very attractive blue and bright blue Ferrari. There goes the 10. I think that's Felipe Albuquerque on board, just judging by the helmet being the colours of Portugal. A little bit of a look at the front splitter of the 31. That was obviously where it had a little bit of an impact with the rear of Nick Tandy's Porsche. And it is cracked, actually. The very front end of the splitter is cracked as in comes the 7 Porsche. That's a 963. That's trundling into its stop. So interesting, everyone's only double stinted their drivers. I mean, those of us who are used to the previous hybrid era at Le Mans, we'd see 5 stints. We see the 3 hours, 40 minutes in the cars. But this is just an hour and a half. It's quite warm, and of course, on the whole, your stints are more determined by tyre life, which isn't a massive issue. New set of boots on. I don't think, and I'll take a massive gamble here because I came to it late, I don't think the 07 changed drivers unless it was the most lithe driver in the history of driving getting out of it. So I think the Porsche, so the 7, sorry, not the 07, I've got all American on people, the number 7. So I think that stayed with the driver. And then there's this weird thing where the fuel tank is attached to the pump, but it's actually not pumping any fuel. It's just putting in virtual electric energy. It's very confusing, the new refueling rules, but they're all just... but we had an hour and a half to explain what the point behind them, but basically to even everything up. And in a minute, John, we're going to get the 24 BMW, which is the one of only 2 we haven't had with Alex Lynn in this latest round of GTP pit stops.
I'm very confused by that virtual energy replenishment thing. Renger van der Zande took over the 0-1. The 10 had Louis Delatraz in that Acura, and Jack Aitken has taken over the 31. The Corner car, which is leading GTD, is off at the Western Horseshoe, and that was the second best of the GT cars. Mike Skeen. And that's another unusual mistake for him. Now, did he jump or was he pushed is the question. He was, he's got damage to, a little bit of damage to the right front. We'll watch that as Nick Damon has the leader, Tom Blomqvist, in the Acura number 60. And
Tom is getting out of the car, again, many hundreds of yards away, so I can't tell exactly who's getting in at this moment. They're just cramming him in. The full service in front of me, right in front of my eyes, is the number 24 BMW. That had a full service, and now Gosso Farfus has got into that one, replacing Philip Eng. That's going away. That was a very standard stop. The BMW, which appears to have stopped hemorrhaging time now. The leading Acura sits there, waiting to go, putting in pretend fuel or virtual fuel or imaginary electricity at the moment, and there it rolls. Quite a gentle exit, so they certainly aren't doing the full whoosh we used to see from the Toyotas a couple of years ago, but better safe than sorry with these drivetrains, which of course are heavily stressed and also very new.
So the number 60 Acura heads out with, I think, Colin Brown behind the wheel of that car. What a great thing it is, Jeremy, to see Colin getting his opportunity with a manufacturer team. Long overdue, but what loyalty he has had down through the years to the guys at Court. So the Corner car has recovered, and it was coming into the West hairpin, West Horseshoe, and he got a little bit sideways. He was sliding. I don't think he got hit but it's caused all kinds of consternation behind, including the leading LMP2 car with Alex Quinn behind it, the wheel of it, having to avoid, and the number 31 Cadillac with Jack Aitken behind it. Corvette had to go wide as well. The number 3 car had to take to the grass. Just looked like it was a lazy spin, to be honest. That's under review, but I don't think there was any contact there. Back to Nick Damon down at the GTP end of pit lane.
Yeah, just correcting my previous situation. Obviously, Felipe Nasr was incredibly live because he did jump out of the 7 without me even noticing it. They're going to start doing mystery changing of drivers. It's going to get very hard for my old eyes, I can tell you, before the end of this race.
Well, the left-hand front headlight, the right-hand headlight rather, is knocked out on the 31, so maybe there was contact there. Or was that from the earlier incident with Nick Tandy? Well, let's find out. Nick Tandy and our Nick Damon.
Yeah, we're just shuffling out to a bit of a cliff. It's very packed at the back of the Porsche Penske garage. Nick, main talking point of that is when you got tagged by, I think, by Pipo Derani.
We got ploughed into at turn 1, you mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll say it was tagged. No further action. Did you have? I mean, you were 97% past. How do you feel from your end?
I mean, I just got driven into. You know, I didn't defend into the corner. I drove my line and I turned into the corner on the brakes and just got driven into in the back. So, you know, if this is how it's going to be at the start of a 24-hour race, then it's going to be an interesting run. But yeah, luckily we had no damage. Got a bit of a flat spot on a tyre, but yeah, it's an interesting start to the race. Of course, it's tough with each car makes its lap time, even though there's, you know, everything's supposed to be similar. But honestly, the variances between the cars is quite stark when you all run together. So yeah.
Can you expand on that? Is it a case where one car's got better drive, one car's actually quicker down the straight?
Yeah, exactly. And where you make your time, and where you make your time during the stint as well. It was like when the 0-1, I think it was, when they came out of the pits. I passed him. We came out of the pits together and we were quicker. And then towards the end of the stint, he reeled me back in and took over. But yeah, I mean, it was lucky. Yeah, the good thing is we didn't get into the wall down at turn 1, but and we're in the race. But yeah, it's not easy, I can tell you, but it's fun.
Yeah, about to say, it's the first stint of a GTP in competition. It's certainly delivered. You have one car break down, one car do a control delete, the rest you fighting like, well, vixens, let's say.
Who broke down?
The 25 BMW.
Oh, right. See, I've got no idea what's going on.
Your teammate had to do a control alt delete. Did you know that?
I didn't know that either. No. That's how much we get told. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like this. This is the thing. It's like, why, you know, you don't have to smash into people on the first 5 laps of a race when we all got these kind of things that we're trying to look after. But yeah, a long way to go, Nick.
It's pretty obvious, though, despite everything, you're really enjoying the challenge, yeah?
What, you mean driving one of these cars around on a racetrack against other people that we're trying to beat? It's pretty cool.
Thanks, Nick.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nick. BMW penalty, too many people working on the car for the 24 GTP. We've been able to analyse that incident for the Korthoff car. Johnny Palmer's been casting his eye over it as well in our IMSA Radio race control area. Definite contact, says JP. It's knocked the number 31 Whelen car's headlight out as well. So you can see the contact from Jack Aitken's on board. So that's been looked at the moment. Pipo Derani, forceful as ever. And yeah, that headlamp is not working. In fact, it's been pushed back in through the wing, and the LEDs are about to fall out as well. Into the pit lane for the BMW number 24. Yeah. That's not long been in, Jeremy.
2 laps ago only. So
we put Augusto Farfus in that car when it came in, didn't we?
Yeah. But he's on his way out again now.
Oh, that's his drive-through. That's his drive-through.
Oh,
the 2 people working on the car.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
just mentioned that.
Well done.
Yeah. And Richard Westbrook has just taken over the 0-2 on that car. at IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch. I did say it early on, I wondered if this might be a slightly different sort of endurance race. New cars, new technology, but perhaps a little bit more, interestingly, of an old let's get the cars through to a couple or 3 hours before the race.
So just one lap led then for the number 02 car of, it was Alex Lynn who took over the lead for one lap. That's the first lead change in this race, but he's just now made his third pit stop of the day in car number 02. Alex handed over that car over to Richard Westbrook. So that car running on a, well, it was, it's going to be interesting to watch that because its first stop was on lap 29. Its second stop was on lap 40, so only 11 laps on that stint and only 24 on this stint. I wasn't expecting to see that car onto pit lane for quite a while yet, so that's something I think we should keep an eye on. Most of the leading cars did 30 or 31 laps. The 01 car did 30 laps on each of its stint, and the second one was about 51 minutes. We're expecting somewhere between 48 and 52 minutes for the GTP cars on a stint before they've used up all their allowable energy, and that's a good bit longer than it was last year. Last year's stints were about 40 minutes or thereabouts, so they're going longer between stints now, but certainly the number 02 car, we don't have a feel yet for what is going on there, why that only came in after just 24.
One thing I would say about what we've seen here that echoes what we saw at the Raw and again in the early sessions here, and I accept people obviously are joining us for the first time maybe for the race coverage here, is that these GTP cars don't brake and turn like the DPIs did. They are, what, a good 100 kilos heavier. Yep. They've got this brake-by-wire system that works ostensibly on the back wheels, working with the hybrid. They are only two-wheel drive cars, so the hybrid only works on the back axle, the same as the internal combustion engine. And it does seem that we're seeing more mistakes, and I use the words mistakes in inverted commas, errors, whatever you want to do, but more issues, let's say, under braking than we have been used to recently in the recent past from pro drivers, as the 23 Heart of Racing peels off into the pit lane from the GTD field. That Aston Martin coming down for service. Still Colin Brown leading the motor race, 3 seconds ahead of Renger van der Zande as we come through to another hour's worth of racing completed. And before we do our VP Racing update, let's go to Nick Damon down in the pit lane with, I think, Alex Lynn is what you said, Tim.
Yep.
Nick, didn't you? Sorry. From
the O2 Cadillac, Alex. Alex, it's very, very frenetic out there. Now, you've made an extra stop. Why was that?
We tried to catch a yellow. I think there was a Porsche that was stopped on track and we were near pit road, so we tried to catch an early yellow. It didn't work out. So anyway, we're just having to play around with strategy at this early point and getting a feel for what we can and can't do.
And I mean, it's a great word of what you can and can't do. What have you discovered in this first hour you didn't know about the car?
Not a crazy amount. I mean, that was the first time we did nearly 70 laps on a set of tyres, so that's a lot of laps on a set of tyres around here. So, yeah, we're just really, again, finding out what this car can and cannot do at this moment.
When you came in for that attempt to cheat a yellow, effectively, you took some fuel on, but then you kind of got yourself back on strategy with everyone else. You didn't go the full distance. Why was that?
To be fair, we're just trying to play around with strategy right now.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks.
Joe Bradley is further up the pit lane. I'll have a comment on that in a moment. Joe Bradley with some LMP3 updates.
Yeah, just a quick update on LMP3. Pretty much everybody in LMP3 class has pitted now, the last one being just in there, the AWA Decane. Matt Bells took over the 13 car. The 42 Lamborghini, the NTE Sport Lamborghini, caused some consternation Kerong Lee, who, by the way, creates history here at Daytona, the very first Chinese driver, as far as we're aware, to race here at Daytona in the 24 hours. But that car caused a bit of consternation with the team. Couldn't quite get into his box and was so far away they couldn't get the fuel hose to it. So they've lost a bit of time there, more time lost for that 42 MTE Sport Lamborghini.
Let's take a look at the standings then with 2 hours completed. We'll start off in GTD Pro. We've just had some pit stops, but the 23 Aston Martin Harter racing car came in from the lead. David Pittard staying behind the wheel as he goes out. GTD Pro Lexus number 14, Jack Hawksworth in second. From in third, another GTD Pro, that is Jordan Taylor. In the standard GTD category, John Potter has just pitted the Magnus Aston Martin from the lead. Frankie Montecalvo's taking over the green number panel, number 12 Lexus, and then it's the Acura number 93 of Ashton Harrison for Racers Edge in third position. In LMP3, it's Gar Robinson just coming into the pits on the pit stop cycle now. And Tymon van der Helm has taken over the Duqueine number 85. And he's just pitted, or just come out of the pits in that JDC Miller Motorsport car that he took over from Till Bechtelsheimer, who started that car. He will come out in a net third position. Jarrett Andretti, who was leading before this pit stop cycle, will go back to the lead in the number 36. Jarrett Andretti staying in that car in the last pit stop. In LMP2, it is the Piawa Matheson's Motorsport, the Wins car, that leads with Alex Quinn behind the wheel. He's been very quick since he took over from starting driver Ben Keating. Julian Canal for the number 88 AF Corsa, a team in second place. It's the car that was started by Francois Perrodo. And in third, the 04 now, is the Matt McMurray driven CrowdStrike Racing by APR. Ben Hanley, Esteban Gutierrez and George Kurtz who are also in that car. And at the top of the field, the number 60 Acura has still not been headed for 69, coming around to finish 70 laps. It's Colin Brown. Oh, sorry, 1 lap, I'm told. Jeremy has been keeping an eye on that. So it's lads 68 of 69 laps then. We'll fix that when we do the post-production. Colin Brown now behind the wheel of that number 60 car. 4.3 seconds to the good. Renger van der Zande in the 01 Cadillac. That's the car with the yellow front and the full season IMSA car. Porsche 963. 963 of Batu Jamanin, the number 6 car. He's taking that up from Nick Tandy now in third. And they are separated by about 17 seconds. Another spinner out on the circuit. And once again, it's at the far end of the track from us. Performance Tech Motorsport, number 38.
Again,
LMP2. That's not the first time we've seen that facing the wrong direction.
John DeAndres, another spin for the Florida driver, making his debut in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship this weekend.
So that is your update with 2 hours gone, just over. 21 hours and 58 minutes to go. Colin Brown leads for MSR Acura. 70 laps completed in that number 60R. In race update at the 61st running of the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona with VP Racing Fuels, the official coolant of IMSA. That's Stay Frosty. Whether you are towing, tracking, or just driving your car, there's a Stay Frosty for you. Check it out on the website. Well, if you are just joining us, the news from the first couple of hours is that the number 25 BMW had to go behind the wall with a hybrid warning. Nick Yellerly was behind the wheel at the time, went into the HV, the high voltage recovery area, and that is a specific place on the track just before the pit lane entry where you can park out of harm's way and try and resolve the issue. It was resolved to the point where it could be moved and taken back to the pit lane. The car is in a state of undress back in the garage area. 107.9 FM around the track, RS2 on imsaradio.com and the Radio Show Limited player. And we've got sound and vision for you there as well via the live video button. Our world feed available to you, and welcome to all of our syndicated TV networks around the world as well. Let's pick up some pit reports again. Nick Damon, first of all.
Up at the 24 for Team RLL BMW with Philip Eng. Philip, well, you survived the first stint, which is more than your sister car did. How is the car feeling?
Car is feeling good so far. Everything is going according to plan. It was such a great honor to do the start. First official start of our new car at the biggest race of the year. It was great to see so many people on the grid. Yeah, but the car feels good and very early days. It's a long way to go, but I'm fairly optimistic.
Was that as quick as you could go, or were you running to a lap time?
No, I mean, obviously you're always trying to get the maximum out of the car without taking unnecessary risks in the beginning. We just said to play it safe in the beginning and then build up on it. First of all, it was important to get a good read of the car, how the balance is, how the tires develop throughout the stint. So, yes, to answer your question.
Thanks, Philip. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just noting that it is Ashton Harrison behind the wheel of the Racers Edge 93 car. Now, that's not a full season car. It is doing the Michelin Endurance Cup, leading GTD at the moment. Ashton was sitting in second or third for quite some time, and then, of course, when there was the incident with the 32, that caught-off car spun away. She went through to lead. We're going to get a full course yellow here. The NTE Lamborghini's gone straight on at turn 1 into the tyres. The tyres are there to stop you from going into turn 6, and that's exactly what they've done. Robert McGuinness behind the wheel of that two-ton blue car. I would be very surprised if the yellows don't come out. And just waiting to see. That car is still fired up. McGuinness working behind the wheel to try and find reverse, I think, at the moment. The tyres have done their job to stop the car going straight on at turn number 1. It's a fairly short run from turn 1 to the exit of the infield. The cars are coming almost straight after. And big spin for the Performance Tech as well a few moments ago. That's the number 38 at the far end of the infield section. Looks like may have been a tap by the 33.
Yeah, Lance
Sean
Wilsey.
Crease motorsport car.
Oh, Simon Vanderhelm, no. No, he's yeah, Lance Wilsey.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that was just a tiny little tap there. We saw it earlier on with the court of Mercedes, and also contact at the International Horseshoe. Rather an optimistic lunge by the TDS racing car, and then a few moments ago, big lock-up for the NTE Lamborghini has thrown us into a full course yellow. This will bring everybody into the pits. Nick Damon, down to you. You've got the leader.
Yes, you've had a number of people come in the pits. These 60 cars, you say, is just sneaking back past me, having picked up a bit of extra fuel and carried on going. Preempting it was a number of the LMP2 cars. We had the Ben Keating 52 car, the PR1 Matheson. We had Proto competition. Well, both of those came in before it was actually called, but gained a little bit, because when they left, it was already happening. So they gained like, half a straight, but they had the fuel. And we have a car coming into a closed pit. Looks like one of the other P2s. It's the 51 car of the Rick Ware Racing. Now, I assume that's because it had to come in because it's out of fuel, because this is pretty much where they're going to do. So they're allowed to have 5 seconds of input from the hose. Yeah, that's more than 5. So they've decided they're going to just... I'm sorry, that was more than 5. I could count to more than 5. Perhaps that was 5 seconds of actually flowing, but that was on for about 9. So we'll see what the officials say about this. And looks like everything now is clear, and we'll wait, obviously, the pits to open properly in a couple of yellow flag lap times.
Yeah, 51 Rick Ware car definitely entered a closed pit. That was noted by the race control. with immaculate timing, we have a guest here, actually. Hello to Pernilla Lindberg, who has joined us here in on the 5th floor. I didn't know you were a racing fan, Pernilla. We know you from your exploits on the LPGA Tour, of course. I didn't realise you were a racing fan.
Yeah, I've become a racing fan the last few years. It's actually really thanks to Drive to Survive on Netflix. I have become a huge F1 fan over the last few years, and went to a couple F1 races last year, and then this is my first time here in Daytona now.
A little bit different from what you've seen then. A couple of hours in the book. What do you feel about it so far? A lot of cars out there, a lot of different classes to get your head around, but exciting for you?
It's very exciting. It's a lot louder than being at a golf tournament, that's for sure. And but yeah, I'm trying to learn as much as I can about the different classes, and you know I have a couple of teams that I'm rooting for here. The Gradient team has been hosting me this morning, so it's it's always more interesting when you feel like you have a couple of teams that you're rooting for.
Right, you're a professional sports person. You work and you focus for every tournament. Of course you do. How would you feel if your season started off with the biggest event of the year? Because that's effectively what we're doing here. It's an odd sensation.
Yeah, I would say I will probably be extra nervous, a bit more scared, because it's nice to have a couple smaller warm-up events. But when you're a professional athlete, whenever they tell you, I mean, in a racing, tell you to go, or on a golf course, tell you to tee off, whenever we get the chance, we're ready to go. It doesn't matter, if it's a bigger event or a small event.
Now, we know you from golf, but when I found out you were coming up, I did do a little bit of research, and you used to be a bit of a speed demon because you were a skier in your earlier sporting life.
You've done your research, exactly. I grew up in the northern part of Sweden, so golf was something we did in the summer, and then skiing was the perfect thing to do in the winter. So yeah, I used to throw myself down the ski slope at probably 75, 80 miles per hour, which this is still more scary to be in these cars.
Well, okay, so coming from that area of the world, no thought to do any rallying or motorsport? Because there's a lot of similarities between skiing and rallying, setting yourself up for the turns, looking further ahead.
Yeah, no, back then I was really focused on, it was skiing and golf. If you asked me as a kid what I wanted to do when I grew up, it was either be a professional skier or a professional golfer. And motorsport is not anything that's really crossed my mind until these last few years. But no, like you said, a lot of similarities. Not as many similarities between golf and racing.
But I don't know. Focus.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Coordination.
Totally. Yeah, I know a couple of the Gradient Racing team drivers, Catherine and Sheena, they were actually out at one of our LPGA events last week, and that's what they said. The focus that we have on the course, they could see similarities there for sure.
So that was Orlando. How did you do down in that event?
Actually, I did not play in that event. No, that's okay. I'm getting my season started in middle of March, so I still have a little bit of time off.
What do you do other than hit balls to practice golf? I mean, it's a bit like motor racing. There's not much else you can do. You have to drive on a track to practice motor racing. You have to hit balls to practice golf.
Yes, but golf is very complex. There's always something you can practice. I mean, you're on the driving range, you're on a putting green, you're in the bunker, you're chipping. There's always like different shots to practice, and then we spend a lot of time, obviously, not just on the driving range, but out playing on the golf course too.
Well, I hope you enjoy the rest of the race. Good luck for the season.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be watching you on the NBC Golf Channel, of course, throughout the rest of the season. We get the LPGA back in the UK as well, so now I've got somebody new to root for. Thanks for coming to see us.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Pernilla Lindberg is joining us here at the race, taking in another sport. Full course yellow number 2 for us here. And we're waiting for the pitch to open, and indeed with perfect timing, the open this time around. No, I suspect that everybody is in a situation, Jeremy, in GTP where they will want to come in.
Yeah, I mean, the number 60 car, I presume it got in just before the yellow came out. Yeah, right. So they've stolen a bit of a march here. So that car probably won't come in again. The other ones, yeah, they're most of the way through. Well, not even barely a third of the way through this, but probably will come in. What's bizarre now is that there's a whole train of cars that's stuck behind. I think it was number 55 car. that was going very, very slowly and trapping the entire rest of the field, which is really bizarre.
That's the Proton competition LMP2 car.
I think that's the car that it was. Or was it the 88? Might have been the 88 actually.
Oh, the AF Corsa car, the sort of sunburst machine. Yeah.
Yeah, the sort of the chrome coloured car.
Yeah, that's
bizarre.
the 88.
So there's only sort of 10 or 15 cars. There's a massive gap to everybody else. So not quite sure what's going on there. So the entire field hasn't packed up. That's my point.
Yeah.
Here.
So yes, and that means people are going to charge down into the pits where Nick Damon is waiting for the GTPs.
Yeah, we got a full house so far. We got the 60 did come in again for the 12 megajoules it was allowed to have after a lap behind the safety car. The big news really is the 31, the Whelen Engineering Cadillac. That's the car which had the coming together with Nick Tandy's number 6 Porsche, having a nose change. They've decided the damage, and you had to actually hold the front of the splitter, was worth changing. Now it's not going to cost me anything apart from a little bit of track position. So they've changed the nose relatively cheaply. And our bright red one has gone in. We've also had one of the Cadillacs through in the GTP side, but all of them just picking up those extra megajoules of energy, wherever they may be. And then Joe, he has a whole plethora of LMP3s.
I have LMP3 and LMP2s. However, I am in LMP3 land. Just been with the leading team. It's the number 74, the Ranch Resort Riley. That car came in and only took on fuel. I'm now at Sean Creech. And it looks like everybody's doing the same. We almost had it coming together with a couple of prototypes further down towards pit out, but right now everybody just choosing to take on fuel during this yellow.
Very quick pit stops by everybody. Red light at the end of pit lane. But see, that's what Jeremy was talking about. Because there was such a big gap, we did have a red light at the end of the pit lane, and that's really helped the Andretti Autosport car, Joe, at your end of things, because all of the cars that it's just joined alongside should have already been gone.
Yeah, that really, really hurt a lot of people there, because it didn't really matter how quick your pit stop was on the apron. You got held at pit out, so everybody, I think, has gone out the way they came in.
Thanks, Joe.
That was just really weird, though.
It was.
I mean, normally we don't open the pits until everybody is packed up behind the safety car. Well, they weren't there, so that's created a fair bit of confusion down there, particularly at that pit exit, with them being closed with the sort of second string of cars. So that bit weird, but anyhow, I'm sure it'll all sort itself out. The number 60 car did come in for a very quick splash of fuel, and as therefore leapfrog from fourth, where it was, into the lead again. Number 02 and number 24 car, they were both a lap down to the other GTP car, so they did not make a pit stop. And before we go back to green, therefore, they will be between the safety car and the race leader. And because of that, they will be allowed to go past the safety car, run around to the back of the pack, because they had not been lapped by the overall leader. So they'll be at the back of the pack before the restart. Having said that, after getting what is called the wave around, they will probably come into the pits, top up the fuel, and get out again, and hopefully beat the safety car back onto the racetrack. In that case, they're still back on the lead lap, having made their taken on service.
Right, GT's coming this time. There are a couple of cars that aren't going to stop at the front of the field. They're going to stay out, as Jeremy has mentioned, including as the... Okay, which of the safety cars have we got now? Is that the NSX, I think? Or is that one of the Corvettes? One of the Corvettes, excuse me. As into the pit lane comes the GTs. Let's start with Nick again and pit in.
Yeah, the 14 was the interesting one that didn't go by, which is the Lexus car. That troll part. The 23 Aston Martin. We had the 64 Aston Martin as well. I can see the 92 happy, but it seems like everyone else has come in. They've just picked up fuel. I can't see anybody actually at the moment doing a driver change. I mean, possibly at Joe's. Joe, have you got any drivers being swapped?
Got a driver change going on the 21 AF Corsa Ferrari. It's in the midfield of the GTT class, full service on this 21. So the AF Corsa team perhaps disagreeing with a lot of other teams. They're going to lose a bit of time. There's a lot of cars just taking on fuel. The Paul Miller BMW, for one, just pulls off the apron and overtakes the 21 Ferrari on pit lane. However, same scenario as before for the LMP cars. It's a red light, and as the 21 Ferrari moves off pit apron, it goes green at pit out. So He has lost places, though, changing driver.
Thank you, Joe and Nick.
And I need to correct myself. Number 7 car did not come onto pit lane with the other GTP cars, so that now leads the race overall. Colin Brown moved up into 2nd place. He did stop, but has leapfrogged the other guys because he needed only a splash of fuel, and the other contenders that are on the lead lap needed a good bit more fuel. So much faster pit stop for number 60, gets it back out ahead of the number 01, the number 6 and the 10. But the number 7 car, having not pitted at all, went past all of them.
Yes. Yeah. And that's that, you know, we were talking about this, the keys to the race. Work the cautions. Sometimes they'll fall for you, sometimes they may not, Jeremy, but if you've got an opportunity to make it work for you, you've got to recognise that quickly, speak to your driver, and depending where you are on the circuit, you might have to make some fairly rapid decisions. That's what the 60 did there, and got its service done in the moments before the pits closed.
Correct.
So
thinking on your feet.
Yes, exactly. It's just as much a part of endurance racing, if you're new to all this, as having the fastest driver in the car at the right time. All of those things come together. Still a little bit overcast here this afternoon. Track temperature 27 Celsius, that's 81 Fahrenheit. 18 in the air is 64. As we're coming up to 4 o'clock. In fact, it's exactly 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So 21 hours and 40, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31 seconds to go. Sirius XM 207 here in the US. RS2 around the world. 107.9 here at Daytona International Speedway, and our world feed pictures via IMSA.tv, IMSARadio.com, by the live video button, and of course our syndicated TV partners around the world. Right, coming in this time around, as Jeremy said, the 7 Porsche Penske Motorsport machine didn't pit. Well, Nick, they've come in to see you now.
Now they have fuel only, windscreen clean, a quick visual check. So we've got the 60 apparently. Oh, well, sorry, I just looked the other way, and the rear end, the rear deck of the 60, the car that's led the race from the start, is being changed. So whether that is a bit of damage, or obviously when you change the rear end, you do slightly change. You can also change the aerodynamics. So they're also putting a bit of fluid in there as well. But I'm actually standing right by the 24 pit for the BMW. That's going to come in a minute because they've managed to get their lap back, haven't they? They're just sort of sprinting around the start-finish straight, and they're going to basically get their lap back. I don't think this is sinister, but still the 60's not moving. Yeah, Shay, what's going on your end?
Absolutely nothing, Nick. It's nice and peaceful down here as everyone got their service done and managed to blend into line astern. That was one thing that they talked about in the drivers' meeting earlier. If you happen to leave at a point when the red light is on, you just pull out and show intent. That is going to show where you belong in line and how you fall in. It's something that's been a question over years past that Race Control addressed, and people so far have been obeying the rules nicely.
Nick Damon has the remaining BMW, the number 24 from RLL.
Got the 24 and the O2, of course, have used this to get their lap back. The 24 getting a full fill of fuel, which is hard to say slowly, let alone quickly. And away he goes on electrical power. So this one's worked very well for BMW. So the 24 car now just playing itself in. Obviously the 25 car still behind the wall with that hybrid change.
Nick, if you could get down to the Shank Racing pit, the MSR Acura, see if you can have a quick look at the tail end that they took off. It includes the rear wing, and there looked to be, it's got out the back actually, there looks to be a little bit of scuffage on one side, as if that car's rubbed the wall. I presume it's the right-hand side. Yes, it is the right-hand side. Our intrepid camera people have got that now, and they're working on it. It says Acura on the right-hand pillar of that. It's at the back of the easy ups in the pit lane, and The other thing we need to find out is why that number 7 car didn't come in the first time around. I wonder if they've got some communication problems in that Porsche. I don't see the tactical advantage, Jeremy, of not coming in with the rest of the GTPs when they were still on the lead lap, unless they were just too far down the line and they were worried that they were going to get stuck in the line or something like that. There was a red light at the end of the pit
that's
lane.
a good point. That car was probably trapped behind all those other cars that were going slowly. Great point, John Hindhaugh. Yeah, well done. I'm sure that was what it was, because if it had come in, then there was a danger, if anybody else didn't pit amongst the leaders, that they would have gone a lap down, and that wouldn't be good. But now that's that could be that's great thinking, because that was at the tail end lead lap. It was a long way behind everybody else. It was a full 46 seconds or more behind the Whelen Engineering Cadillac.
Yeah.
Bite out of that.
Let's go down to Shea Adam, the Era prototype. I think was trying to get the pass around Shea.
Yeah, and dove into the pit lane to get a little bit more fuel for Ryan Dial. And even though that was down on Nick's side, I just noticed that he was coming back out, got stopped at the red light at the pit exit because they were still doing the pass around, where all of the GTP cars go to the front of the field, and then all the remaining prototypes stay in line with the other prototypes but pass all the GT cars. This means that Ryan Dial is going to be starting at the back of the GT field for this restart. He'll be fun to watch.
Well, we like a bit of entertainment, it's fair to say. Pits are still open, anybody can come in now. Colin Brown trying to get some heat into his tyres in that number 60 car. This is the car that was on pole position, put there by Tom Blomqvist on Sunday afternoon last week. Well, this week, actually, I suppose you would say. That car has now, for the first time, relinquished the lead, for the first time bar one lap on the pit stop circulation. And that means for the first time we have the 01 Cadillac leading. Renger van der Zande, 01 Cadillac from the 1-0, the 10. That is the Konica Minolta WTR Andretti racing car. Louis Delatraz behind the wheel there. This is all behind the safety car. 31 Cadillac of Jack Aiken is the Whelen car, red-fronted car with the Cadillac Racing rear end. Second of the... Oh, I missed out the 6 Porsche in third, sorry. That's Matthew Jamney, that's the one with the white stripes. 7 Porsche is in 5th for Matt Campbell, the affable Aussie. Colin Brown in 6th place now in the pole-sitting car. Richard Westbrook in the 02, the blue-fronted Cadillac racing car. And Augusto Farfus for BMW in the remaining BMW M Hybrid V8. If you weren't with us earlier on, the 25 car had to be pulled into the safe area with a hybrid problem. The car is being looked at in the pits as we go back to green with 21 hours, 34 minutes and 34 minutes exactly to go now. And it's the yellow-fronted Cadillac of Renger van der Zande that leads the cars through into the infield for their 80th time. And gets a decent jump off the start. Adam's a rage jump. If you want to get back to us, Nick Damon, I think, had a quick look at the rear wing on that number 60 car. Broken end plate, Nick, was that the problem?
Light bit of damage. I think much the same with the 31 car. When you've got a free chance of fixing it so early in the race, you may as well fix it.
Yeah.
You know, it's you don't. Again, despite what the drivers are doing, the teams are absolutely going zero risk at the moment. So that would make perfect sense. Oh, we've lost a bit of track position, but it doesn't matter with 22 hours to go.
Thank you, Nick. Did you find out what the fuel was, the fluid was that went into that? It was the big, it almost looked like a fire extinguisher, but it had 2 hoses on it.
That's something that on the Acura.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are basically replenishing the oil in the engine. Yeah, we're going to see more of that than we have in the past. We've seen it in the past, but we're going to see more of that. And it's I gather it's something to do with the fuel and the sort of the sediments that's passed through the engine into the oil system on the engine. Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to see more of that this year.
More penalties. Running the red light at the pit exit, stop at 60 for the number. Does that say 38 on that screen, Jeremy? Yes, it does. That's Performance Tech then. 34 will also take a penalty, and that is 34 car. Pit lane speed violation for that car. And finally, I don't think we've got a 34, have we? So that's not quite right. I'll check that one back. I've confused myself there. 87 we certainly do have. And that is the Fast MB. And they improperly served their emergency service obligation, so that'll be a stop plus 10. I'll get back to you when I see another car come through, because somebody's obviously had a pit lane speed violation, but it isn't the 34. And by the way, those two cars I've just mentioned, the 38 and the 87, have just come along. Performance Tech and Fast MG, they are already serving or have served their penalty. The stop plus 60 is going on right now at the penalty box at pit out.
Yeah, that's costly for the Performance Tech team. That's disappointing for them. They were a lap down to the leaders as a result of those two earlier spins during that last
They're going to lose another lap
shuffling
here.
around positions on the GTP cars since the restart. The number 60 car has made up a couple of positions. Number 7 car has lost a couple. It's Maddie Campbell, number 7 Porsche. There's three cars heading absolutely nose to tail, or even side by side into turn 1. In the order 10, 6 and 60. Are they going to come out in that order? Yeah, just about.
Possibly. Can we just remind everybody, please? I mean, it's great, we're loving it, but let's remind everybody that we have 21 and a half hours still to go here. Decent battle in GTD Pro as well for the lead of the class, the Chevy Corvette leading the class with Jordan Taylor on board, having a cracking battle with Jack Hawksworth in the GTD Pro Lexus number 14.
So he's just made that pass, because at the restart, the Lexus of Jack Hawksworth was just ahead of Jordan Taylor, so they've exchanged positions. And just behind them, Frankie Montecalvo in the other Vasser Sullivan Lexus, car number 12. He's just got past Ashton Harrison for the lead in GTD. Those cars are all, well, and now again, we're back to nose to tail in GTD. Pro or non-pro. So the 2 pro cars out in front, Jordan Taylor and Jack Hawksworth, number 3 and 14. Then the 2 non-pro cars, Frankie Montecalvo and Ashton Harrison, who's done a really nice job with that number 93 car. And then the pro car, David Pittard, the Heart of Racing team, Aston Martin car number 23. Then Kenton Cook, who's driving for the Courtauld Motorsports team this year in the Mercedes car number 32.
The speeding penalty, by the way, was for the 64, not the 34. TGM TF Sports Aston Martin Vantage. And that car has come in and out. Change of manufacturer for TGM for what is becoming their annual WeatherTech outing. All the drivers together from the 2 Michelin Pilot cars. Yeah. And this year, Tom Ferrier TF Sport running that car for them.
Yeah, they're running in the GTD Pro category. Is the number 64 car.
A couple of people changed over, haven't they?
Yeah, it's to give them to more. Basically, if you're running in GTD, the minimum drive time I think is 4.5 hours.
Correct.
In GTD Pro, the minimum drive time is 2 hours. So that just gives the team a lot less, a lot more flexibility. Ted Giovannis isn't going to be on the pace of his other pro drivers in there. He's 77 years of age, for goodness sake. He does a heck of a good job, all things considered. And he's still as enthusiastic as ever about his racing. It's brilliant. And ditto in the number 53 car, Mark Kawami there, who's got lots of experience in all sorts of different cars, but he isn't on the same level in terms of pace as his more illustrious teammates, the likes of Jan Magnussen, Trenton Estep, who's a youngster who Mark Kawami has taken under his wing and is a very, very fast youngster who's 22 years of age. And Jason Hart, it's great to see him have this opportunity to drive that car from Flower Mound in Texas. Jason's been driving GT4 cars for years and years and years. He's actually done a a couple of Rolex 24s in the past, but it's been a long, long time. Great opportunity for Jason, and super to see somebody like that have an opportunity in that car.
Yeah, I did Le Mans this year with Renger and Mark Kwame in
the reason he got the opportunity because Kevin Magnussen, Jan's son, was going to drive the car, but then had some wrist surgery, which wasn't initially planned, but it was decided to get it done before the F1 season, and it was minor surgery, and it went very well, but the recuperation meant that he couldn't take up his place with this team as expected. But there is a hope that he might be there in the future.
Of course, I meant Le Mans last year, but my year doesn't go from January to December. It goes from Le Mans to Le Mans, so I'm still in one Le Mans cycle, if you see what I mean. I'm sure you knew what I meant.
So Colin Brown did manage to get past Matthew Jamin. Up into third place now then for number 60 car, the pole sitting car, having made that additional, well, a couple of pit stops compared to most of the other cars in GTP.
So Colin Brown now then in that number 60 car with a bit of clear track ahead. How far up the road is the
Louis Deltraz?
next
Not
turn?
far at all.
What, for half a second? So no, there he is. Yeah,
half a dozen car lengths.
So just coming across the tri-oval now, and they're already in traffic. And the leader, in fact, is only just ahead as well by another 3. In fact, they're not even that. They're about a second apart, if that is to go through turn 1. The yellow-fronted Cadillac then leads as Ferrari number 62 comes out of the pits. That was serving a penalty for Risi. And that was improper pit procedure, nothing more specific than that.
And Matty Campbell in the Porsche number 7, now up into 6th place, having passed Richard Westbrook last time around.
Yeah, Porsche versus Cadillac there. Cadillac, Acura, Porsche, Cadillac, Porsche, Cadillac, BMW. The remaining 8 GTPs, 9 seconds apart after the restart, and all on the lead lap. Seems some faster times coming in. Francesco Pizzi in the number 55 has just turned that Proton Competition Oreca's fastest lap of the race, and a couple of places behind him and going a little bit quicker still. Still got Huffaker in the number 11 TDS racing car, 1:39.7, and also a fastest lap for the car that he's in, for the car that's behind that, all in the LMP2 class, the number 35 TDS racing car. That's young Josh Pearson behind the wheel of that car with a 140.8.
Yeah, and Francesco Pizzi, it probably isn't a name with which many people are familiar, because I wasn't, until coincidentally I saw his name added to the driver roster in number 55 car in LMP2 for Proton Competition. And funny enough, that same day I got a notification he's going to be driving this year in the USF Pro 2000 Championship. So on the open wheel ranks, you know, aiming towards Indianapolis and the Indy 500. The young man Francesco Pizzi from Rome in Italy, just 18 years of age. He's done a fair bit of racing in open wheel ranks in Italy and in Europe. He's had some success there as well, and he's given a good account of himself at the wheel of this guy's first time in a prototype. And the other youngster, the English youngster Alex Quinn, just a couple of seconds ahead of him.
Question coming in here from Jerry C, who's on the grounds, come up from further south in Florida this weekend. Why does IMSA only have the one 24-hour race on the calendar? Is it too expensive for the teams? So yes and no.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we could have another 24-hour race, but it would take up the 3 or 4 other races, wouldn't it? When we've talked to John Doonan, the president of IMSA in the past, about longer races, they talk about balancing how much competitive running cars have to do during the years, because during the year it costs an amount per racing kilometre or mile for cars, and that's what it's balanced out at. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, we've got that battle starting to hot up a little. Louis Delatraz has caught Renger van der Zande down at turn 1. They've got a little bit of traffic ahead of them, and the leader's going to go down the inside into the International Horseshoe. Oh, a little bit of traffic, what am I talking about? It's like I-95 on a bad day, as the third place car, which is Colin Brown, in the white and pink Acura, is also there. Top 3 together now, carving their way past the Wright Motorsport Porsche. EO Porsche ahead of that. Then we've got the middle of the GTD pack in there as well. Top 4 prototypes now, as the best of the Porsches is coming through. That's Mathieu Jaminet. I was having a chat with him just a couple of hours before the start of the race. Oh, wow. Magnificent stuff by Colin Brown. I think he's made up a position there. Yes, he has. He's gone past Louis Delatraz, who was slightly stymied, then goes all the way up to the wall to get a run on the leader. This could be Colin Brown going from 3rd to 1st in the space of a lap. He goes down below the double. Oh, moving around by Renger van der Zande there in the braking area for turn 7. That was sketchy from the Dutchman, as Colin Brown had a wonderful run out on Speedway 1 and 2. Absolutely caught Delatraz napping. Delatraz caught in the traffic. Brown went in the middle of the track and then up to the top, really close to the wall. Had a fabulous run. Now drops back a little bit as the leader's flashing his lights, goes by the Paul Miller Racing BMW. Well, you get the feeling that the Mike Shank Racing guys have been setting a stunt today, Jeremy. Saw it from Tom Blomqvist last weekend in that one and done qualifying effort. He was awesome in the early part of the race, and we've got Delatraz right there again now with the MSR car. Traffic giveth, traffic taketh away.
Well, there you go. I mean, the previous lap times, the previous 2 lap times for the race, they did 1:36.5, 1:37.9, then 1 minute 40.4 for Renger van der Zande on that last lap. But Colin Brown, wow, what a great effort that was. He was weaving in and out, and he made up 1 position, almost 2. But I don't know how many cars he passed in that little. It's a replay I think we're looking at here. It's just fantastic to watch. He had that car absolutely beautifully placed, and he had to make some decisions there to go around one of the LMP3 cars, who I think was a bit taken by surprise. But you know, what you're supposed to do is keep to the low side in the slower cars and let the faster guys go around you. And the LMP3 car there kind of waffled a bit, but there was no waffling from Colin Brown.
No, well, never has been. Didn't he set a speed record around here in a DPI? Was that with the team he's driving for now?
Yeah, back when they were Michael Shank Racing in a Ford DP at 222.791 miles an hour, I think it was.
Just off the top of your head, thank you. I always defer to Shea on that. Big dive down the inside from Colin to try and take the lead, but Renger managing to defend again. Traffic allowing the 2 leaders to get away, and once again we're into police chase as the leader of course hits the traffic first. I mean, that's an obvious thing to say. Why does that matter? Well, because guys are battling between themselves for position. These aren't guys just cruising around on a Saturday afternoon. They're all having their own scraps, and going through at the moment the GTD battle between Andy Lally and Daniel Morad. They're fighting for 5th and 6th in GTD, and respectively the number 44 Aston Martin and the 57 WeatherTech AMG GT. 57 is the Winward car. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's a good effort by Daniel Morad. That's a car that was driven over from Texas from Thursday to Friday after the original car was destroyed.
Yeah.
With that nasty accident for Lucas Auer. So that's a really good effort by that team. There was a fair bit of work needed to be done on that car, even after they'd driven it from Texas. Yeah. And the team, I think, they were up till 4 o'clock this morning getting that car ready.
Help from one of the Lamborghini teams as well. Not even the same manufacturer. They turned out to help as well. Actually, that battle that they were going by, and in fact, Colin Brown was held up a little, was Brendan Aribe in the McLaren 720. And Cooper McNeil, that was the WeatherTech car.
Yeah, and I saw Bryce Ward delivering hand delivering several cases of beer for that team, for them to consume after the race. Well, he probably hopes to consume it before it, but
Whatever.
I'm sure you said, but he was so grateful, and as he was telling us a little earlier on, so cool.
I love the family atmosphere that we've got here. Everything, look, before the race, you know, here, they know how much work had to go in there. It can happen to anybody. And so they were there with their comrades, effectively. Not even the same manufacturers, as I say. They'll be fighting tooth and nail out there on the circuit now, as we've seen many times down the years. The respect that these teams, the drivers have to have respect on the track. Well, the teams, perhaps even more so in the pit lane and in the paddock, particularly this year when the pit boxes themselves are down as small as I can remember them. I think it's just on 20 feet from line to line.
Same as last year, isn't it? But what's interesting, John, is
last year was 23.
Well, same number of cars as last year.
More cars than last year.
No, there were 61. There were 61 last year.
Okay. Cars are longer though, aren't they?
Well, that's what I was just going to say. Well, the GTP cars, yes, they're almost 2 feet longer than the other cars, so they're a lot less manoeuvrable. Not, you know, the other category cars are still pretty much the same. Well, they are the same as before, but yeah, the prototype cars, they're a lot less manoeuvrable on pit lane.
A bit of gathering cloud to the west end of the speedway. Not forecast for any precipitation over the next 21.5 hours. Also, temperature overnight quite temperate if the forecast is to be believed, staying in the...
and why would one not?
Weather forecasting is an odd science,
well,
isn't
I tell
it?
you what, it's changed regularly this week, the forecast. Let's have a look, see what it says nowadays. You know, right now for
mid 50s overnight, isn't it? So they're expecting it to be somewhere in 13, 14, 15 Celsius. Shea Adam in the pit lane has made a way down to pit in and has just called in to have a look at the BMW M Hybrid V8, the number 25 car that had that hybrid warning earlier on. How's it looking down there, Shea?
Not great. Still in quite a state of undress for the car. No indication of them putting body panels back onto it either. And there were about 7 mechanics standing around fiddling with various things in the back portion of the car. No drivers around in sight either. So it's going to be a while yet before we see the other BMW come back out on the circuit.
Okay, thank you, Shea Adam, down in the pit lane. What's it saying for tonight, Jeremy? Are we going to get some decent sleep?
Low of 60 now, and that's 11 o'clock tonight. Midnight 61, 2 a.m. 62. So that's a lot better. I mean, they were talking about
that's
40s.
Not far off where we are now.
No,
that's
exactly.
we're talking about 16, 17, 18 Celsius now.
Yeah. No, incredible.
Yeah, I better put my shorts on before I go to sleep in the front seat of the BMW under the undercroft tonight. 74 is the Ranch Riley car, and that at the moment is second. It's a battle between Ligiers and Duquesne. Gar Robinson's been doing a cracking job. Has Gar been in since the start, Jeremy? I think he has, hasn't he? Yeah, he has, yeah. And so he's clearly superglued himself to the seat there, or is ignoring any pit messages to get out of that car. Sits in second position in that distinctive bright orange and blue colour.
Get his stint done. Stint's done. His minimum time done, and then handed over to the professionals that he has alongside him in that number 74.
And what's the drive time in LMP3? Is that
4.5 hours.
Is that 4.5 as well, right? Yeah. Okay. Thought it was.
Yep. LMP2, LMP3, and GTD 4.5 hours.
Right. Well, what's he in already? He's already over 2 hours, so he's done half of it nearly already, hasn't he?
Coming up for 3, actually, aren't we?
Now, of course, he couldn't do all of that in the first 6 hours because you're limited to 4 hours in any 6. I don't think he will. Here comes the number 16 to go by down in turn number 1, keeps out the way. That's a perfect illustration. Clip that up. Perfect illustration of how to let a faster car through and how to overtake a slower car without nosing up and making a Horlicks of both of your laps. Guard just left a car's width at the entrance to the corner. Was still able to take a late apex out of turn 2. Cost himself next to nothing in time. No stress for Colin Brown, who's close to back to within 8/10 of the leader, Renger van der Zande, after he was challenging a couple of 4 laps ago. Number of people saying just how extraordinary it is watching the GTP cars navigate through the traffic, including Nick de Groot. Good evening, as it will be for Alex Brundle. Tuned in. Good luck for your season, Alex. Here's his take on it from RSL Race Control, one of our commentary voices in the past. We'll have him back any time. Acura looks planted. Caddy, possibly more drivability and torque. Porsche a shade behind, and can't say. He says can't wait to see what happens when they crank them up tomorrow. Thanks, Alex. I hope you're going to be around for that, watching and listening. I presume you're back in the UK, but he could be travelling. He's a professional racing driver as well as a professional broadcaster, which is somewhat unfair because that's 2 jobs he's taking now. It's 2 Brundles taking commentary jobs at the moment.
Who's he?
He does F2 and F3 for fun, which we seeing here on Sky in the UK. Also should say hello to our good friend Phil Anson, who's the voice of Formula 1, and it will be Formula 2 and Formula 3 for the English language Middle East broadcasts. Some 30 million people tuning into Phil. I know Phil will be lending us his ears and his eyes at the moment out in Dubai. Good luck to you, Phil. Thanks for all your help in the last few weeks when we've been over there.
A couple of laps ago, Richard Westbrook in car number 02 for Cadillac Racing got ahead of Matty Campbell in number 7 car. That's for 6th position.
Our Porsche keys to the race get to dusk, midnight and dawn. You've got long night, but it's not dark here. And the new leader in GTD standard, that's the green door panels, coming down to the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, the same order,
Sorry,
but those two, they're still very close together. So it's Frankie Montecalvo in car number 12 ahead of Kenton Cook in number 32 Mercedes. And it's a battle for the lead in GTD, heading around turn 6, and they are maybe a couple of 3 seconds ahead of Daniel Morad in the number 57 car for Windward Racing, up to 3rd place then Daniel, and he's pursued by Brendan Iribe, who's driving the Inception Racing McLaren. That's car number 70. Ashton Harrison next up in 5th position in the Racer's Edge with Wayne Taylor Racing and Andretti Autosport and everybody else under the sun. Number 93 Acura. She's got a train of cars behind her actually. Andy Lally, Ian James, Andrea Caldarelli, Axel Jeffries, Mark Miller, all in one long train. That's what we get used to in GTD.
Sunset tonight, officially 5:59, and 7:14 a.m. sunrise. So 13 hours 15 minutes, and when the moon comes up tonight, be at 53%. It's a waxing gibbous moon this evening. Yeah, it's a bit cloudy tonight. We've also got a SpaceX launch, I think, as well during the race.
There was one.
There was supposed to be one
a couple of nights
overnight,
ago.
but I don't. The one at 4 a.m. in the morning, I'm not sure it happened. So I think. But
I think it did. I saw something. There was a launch a couple 3 days ago, but I wasn't sure when it was.
I did see something.
Starlink.
It said there might be one during the race. Maybe we've got our dates wrong. So that battle that Jeremy said, the Court of Kart. Well, that's right there now. Had been leading, of course. That number 32 Mercedes, got a little tap from Pipo Derani in the 31 car, didn't it? And spun him at the western end of the infield. They're heading into the braking area for turn 7, and they've got a little bit of a distraction in that they've got the Andretti machine right with them. A bit of drama for the number 74, Gar Robinson, in the pit lane.
Yeah.
It was dead stick when it passed Shea Adam heading up towards Nick Damon.
Yeah, from second place in class at 74 in P3. That is, I think he's got the clutches. It's going to make it. It's interesting because he came in and a massive puff of smoke came out from the rear right. And I thought, oh, he's just really desperately trying to hit his mark, and he's locked the tyre. He's wondering if there's something worse. But unless he has actually run out of fuel, which is, I would say, it's unlikely because none of the other P3s have come in. So they're starting off as they normally do, putting some new tyres on. But yeah, let's see what happens to this one.
Change of lead in GTD whilst Nick was reporting on that issue for the number 74 Riley branch 74 car. That's the Ligier, was in second in the pit lane. We'll keep an eye on that. And Kenton Cook has overhauled Frankie Montecalvo, so it's the dark grey and black the 32 car on the infield now, heading towards the high banging that leads from the bright yellow and black, the Bumblebee colours of the Lexus. New car coming for Lexus. Led to believe that might already be in development. Likely to see that car possibly before the end of this year. Not sure when it's going to debut. Cadillac on Cadillac action coming out the International Horseshoe. And this is the battle for 5th and 6th position.
Richard Westbrook's on a bit of a charge. He overtook the number 7 Porsche just a few laps ago and now closed right up onto the tail of Jack Aitken in number 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac.
And Nick Damon is watching, I'm afraid, some quite extensive work required on that Riley run LMP3 car.
Yeah, they came in, they did the full service, took off the rear deck, and what happened then was after the deck came off, the mechanic looked in and they did the universal sign of it's going no further, the hands across the throat, either nip in, and there is a load of engine oil sitting on the under tray. So either a union's come off, which is the good news, or there's a hole in something where there shouldn't be a hole. And this is the car that's won the last 2 years. Well, winning's going to be difficult. I'm not even sure they can get back because if that's a hole in the engine, it ain't going no further. We have had engine problems with these P3s this week.
Oddly, yeah, Sean Creech Motorsport had an issue as well, didn't they? Had to change an engine. So there will be, this year, a new LMP3 winner at the Rolex 24 Hours, because no one else has won it since the P3s came along. That is very, very bad news indeed for that team. To quote the great Hugh Chamberlain, the only good news is they'll be able to get packed up and leave before the pubs close. Scant consolation, I would suggest, for the team who have taken home a couple of watches in P3 in the last couple of seasons. You're listening to IMSA Radio, live from trackside. We're on the 5th floor overlooking the Tri-Oval, right next to Race Control, 107.9 FM around the track. Nice to have your company. Further afield, here in the US, Sirius XM 207. And of course RS2 for audio on the player. IMSARadio.com. There's also live video there if you're outside the US. 1 or 2 countries where you can't get it because you've got network TV coverage. Well, give it a try, you'll soon find out. And the audio is never geo-blocked, and we never ask you for any money either. So if you are outside the US and somebody's asking you for money for it, please don't pay it. Go to IMSA.tv or IMSA Radio and pick up the feed. Here in the States, of course, Lee Diffie leading an extensive and experienced team of 14 broadcasters to cover this for NBC this weekend. Our TV partners again here in the US for the 2023 IMSA season.
Just in the pit stop for the second place car in LMP2. Francesco Pizzi brought in the number 55 car. That is the Proton competition entry, the black and blue coloured car. Not sure who has the car's back out on the track again. It's still shown as the Italian at the wheel. Be doing a nice job there, hanging on to the tail of Alex Quinn, really not losing much ground at all. It's still number 52 car that leads then. Scott Huffaker, who previously drove number 52 car, now driving for TDS Racing car number 11, is pursuing in second position.
Fuel only in that pit stop that we're talking about. No driver change, no tyres. Fuel only, yeah, for PT. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, coming round to another racing hour completed, down to 21 hours. Let's get this in before we start another pit stop cycle. Alex Quinn leading LMP, second in LMP2, has just put, check that again, Scott Huffaker second in LMP2, has just put in that car's fastest lap of the race. That car being the TDS Racing car, 1:39.708. He's second in that class to Alex Quinn. Josh Pearson third for the number 35, and that is the fastest lap of the race in LMP2, Jeremy tells me. Renger van der Zande leads Colin Brown by now 2.2 seconds. Cadillac versus Acura. And the bad news in the GTP category is we've lost the 25 BMW. Has had hybrid problems, and most recently another casualty with, we think, an engine problem, oil coming out of where it shouldn't oughta, for the car that was second, the number 74 Ranch Resorts Riley. That leaves in LMP3 now Matt Bell leading for AWA. It's Matthew Bell, UK Matthew Bell, from the northeast of England originally. In second, the number 85 Timon van der Helm driven JDC Miller Motorsports bright yellow car. It's the car with my other car as a Porsche on the side, isn't it? And which is a little in-joke because they're waiting for their 963 customer car. 33 is in third position. Anybody who's ever ordered a new car knows that, you know, it's one of those things, you just wait for it. 33 in third is the Sean Creech Motorsport car. 3 GTD Pros at the front of the GTD field. Corvette with Jordan Taylor by just 3/4 of a second from Frankie Montecalvo in second. Sorry, from Jack Hawksworth in second, and David Pittard in third. It's about another second and a half back. Second back now. So 3:14 and 23. 3 different manufacturers there. Chevy Corvette C8R, Lexus RCF GT3, and Aston Martin Vantage GT. The new Corvette GT3 car, the purpose-built GT3 car. Remember, this car here is the GTLM car, which was engineered to LMP3, GT3 pace, sorry. And that car was revealed this week to some applause and aplomb. It's been very well received indeed. In GTD itself, Kenton Cook by 3 seconds in the caught-off Mercedes from Daniel Morad, drafted into the Winward Racing team, running in a strong second place in that car that has made their mechanics and a couple of teams as well a bit weary overnight. Completely rebuilt into a new shell, that car. Frankie Montecalvo in the GTD Lexus, number 12 in third position. Mercedes Lexus. And the McLaren, actually, we should mention Brendan Arebe doing a pretty good job there in that number 70 car. This is the Inception racing machine that he shares with Frederick Schandorf, Ollie Milroy, with a new old helmet design. Actually, he's gone back to an old helmet design, but it is a new helmet. And Marvin Kerkhofer in that car, sitting in fourth position. Brendan will be pleased with that, and his lap times have been pretty steady as well, around about the mid to high 148s. Holds on to fourth position in that category. And that is your VP Racing Fuels update. VP and Stay Frosty, the official coolant of the IMSA Championships. More details at the VP website. Nick Damon can give us a quick update from his end of pit lane.
Yeah, it's been quite busy. The P2's obviously coming in. There's the dance of the limited pit lane happening with the 11 and the 35 with the two TDS entries. The 11 came in first, so the 35 had to come in at an angle because it's pitching further towards pit out. It's like that on the dolly jack to get it straight, but then of course the 11 couldn't leave. So it has to be said that the pit boxes are actually too small, so I'm not sure there's something that IMSA can do anything about. You can't really make the pit lane longer for Daytona, but they are too small. These cars can't avoid them. We've also had the Iron Dames in for a full service. We had the Lamborghini, the NT Lamborghini that caused the yellow flag a while ago. That came in as well. It was remarkably undamaged, having gone straight on at turn 1. And a plethora of P2s, not all of whom I could see, because some of them are a very long way away.
Alex Quinn, fresh out of the PR1 Matheson wins machine in LMP2. Welcome to IMSA. That was initiation by fire for your opening stint, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it all went to plan, really, apart from one moment when I had, I think, 2 or 3 GTs spin in front of me. We had to take a void in action. I was like, well, if there's one way to welcome me to sports car racing, that's the way. So certainly opened my eyes, but I think the pace is okay. We'll keep working. There's a long way to go. So yeah, it was. Once I got into the rhythm, I was feeling more confident, and the car feels good so far. So.
Do you get much of a break now before you have to get back in?
Yeah, I think I got a couple hours. Ben done a great job in his first stint. So yeah, I'll jump back in. Hopefully we'll still be up there and try and do the best I can.
So if this is your initiation into sports car racing, does that mean tonight's going to be your initiation to night racing?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done a couple testing at the Raw and then earlier in the week, but I enjoyed it in the night. We were quick again, so hopefully we can keep it up.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Wow. What an initiation into sports car. So, do you fancy doing a multi-class sports car racing? Yeah? Done it before? No? Okay. It's the Daytona, the Rolex Daytona 24. Yeah, that's fine. Welcome to the 5th floor to Peter Mackay. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, John. Been absolutely gripped to this fantastic motor race so far after 3 hours of running, and I think obviously it's a shame to see the BMW M Hybrid V8 have to go behind the wall for a little while, but they're back running again. But all things being equal, some great racing at the front, excuse me, particularly with the GTPs, which is great.
Bit earlier on, you having a word with Hurley Haywood, big anniversary for Hurley and Porsche, 50 years since that magnificent win for him.
Yeah,
and I bet he remembers it as if it was yesterday and could tell you every lap of every race and every gear change.
The recall is incredible. No, that was a real privilege to sit and have a conversation with Hurley in the Porsche house, and his co-driver Peter Gregg, of course, sadly no longer with us, but his son actually drove their winning car this morning in the historic parade, which was quite an emotional moment, it must be said. So no, that was a real privilege to see that, and great to see him here, still part of the Porsche family and still here. But I tell you what, when it came to 10 minutes before the start of the race, he made sure he was absolutely at the front of the queue to get a good view of the action. It's the Corvette. Number 3 is into pit lane from the lead of GTD Pro, because number 96 Turner BMW, that is the GTD car. Number 96, driven by Patrick Gallagher, stopped at the Western Horseshoe, just on the left-hand side of the entry to the Western Horseshoe, and that car doesn't appear to be going anywhere, and we have a full course yellow for that.
See, look, we were doing really nicely, Peter, before you turned up.
Is this my fault, is it?
It is.
Okay, sorry, folks.
Blame PMAC.
Sorry, folks.
Turns up, and we get our... So 3rd, Jeremy, or 4th? 3rd. Thank you. A couple of cars anticipating that Shea Adam down in the pit lane.
Yeah, Corvette nailing that stop. Looked like they did a data stick change. It's too soon for that. That has to be done between hour 5 and 7 of the race. For the first one, at least, and then there's 3 more instances, but also making it into the pit lane. The heart of racing, the number 27, that definitely was a driver change. There was a gold-ish helmet going in, so I'm going to guess it was Roman DeAngelis taking over the car. Those were the 2 cars down to my end who made it in before the yellow lights came on. Oh, and by the way, Jordan Taylor, thank you for that wonderful burnout leaving the pit lane. That was a nice smoky exit.
Burnouts are discouraged in some form of sports car racing. However, I think they're mandatory for everything bar the GTPs here in IMSA, and long may that be the case. It is one of the things that I really enjoy about it. That Liquid Moly 96 BMW is looking like it's had a bit of oil coming out of its side exhaust. The side of that car looking a bit grimy. And the exhaust is quite forward.
It has been like that for most of the race. We saw that last year on that BMW when it debuted, so it's maybe just a feature of it. But yeah, something not right there for Patrick Gallagher. Losing power, pulling it up, and yeah, just waiting on some assistance at the moment. But that's a real shame for the Turner team. Such a powerhouse in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. They have 2 cars in the field this year. One in the GTD class, which is this car, the 96, and one in the GTD Pro for Daytona, with a full factory top pro lineup in there at the moment. The other car, is. It's been a little bit down the order 8th in GTD Pro at the moment, so not the best of days for Turner so far. So the AMR safety crew giving the 96 Turner BMW some assistance, taking it back off the circuit as well, so hopefully we won't be under to yellow flag for too long.
Let's go to Nick Damon in the pit lane.
Yeah, just having a bit of a look to my left, and there was the 79 WeatherTech Mercedes-Benz that had come in under a closed pit lane, so it must have come in for a bit of an emergency service. You know, you were talking about, you were nervous, so for emergency service, 5 litres, 5 seconds of fuel, you can come back round again. You know, you're talking about the marvellous black lines. They can be overdone. I'm currently outside of the TDS pit with the 11, the 35, and there's about 4 mil of just rubber on the middle of the exit part of the pit box. So much so that when I came up here a while ago, they were actually trying to clean some of it off with brake fluid. They got so much of the stuff. So you know, you can actually.
Hey, but that's precision. I mean, if you're going to put down the 11s, then you know that's precision. If you've done 2 or 3 pit stops and it's just the 2 lines.
Right now, it looks like the art of a 3-year-old. You have to put in the fridge. You've got no choice.
And that's you, Mummy and Daddy. Thank you, Nick. Nick Damon down in the pit lane. Johnny Palmer keeping an eye on what's going on. We'll hear from him and Bruce between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. East Rooftop Ray on duty then as well. That's Night Owl's night shift, powered by Sacred Coffee. And he reckons the Cadillac 01, the Acura 10, the number 6 Porsche and the number 31 Cadillac were all due for a stop as the yellow came out. So we've got to do the pass around, which is happening now.
The Renger van der Zande is 55 minutes into his stint, as was Louis Delatraz in the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura 01 Cadillac for Renger van der Zande. 55 minutes for Mathieu Jaminet in the number 6 Penske Porsche, likewise Jack Aitken. So Johnny Palmer, unsurprisingly, is absolutely spot on, right on the stint length for the GTP field. Colin Brown's the one who's been out for the kind of lowest amount, along with Richard Westbrook in the 02 Cadillac racing car as well. So
they all pitted under yellow.
Yes.
So they did a couple or 3 or even 4 laps of yellow. And then that 55
okay,
minutes.
yeah. So they maybe were just a wee bit earlier than Jeremy, you think?
What,
for their pit stop?
Yeah, well, it's about right.
Yeah, nicely timed yellow. Yeah. Maybe send some tacos down to Turner Motorsport as a thank you for the nicely timed yellow.
They've not had the best weekend, have they? They had a very un-Turner race yesterday for the BMW. endurance event, the 4-hour race for Michelin Pilot Challenge. At one stage, both of their cars were given a pit lane penalty because one of the crews left out equipment and the other one ran over it, and that's not normal for Will Turner's team. So maybe they're getting all of their foo-bars out of the way the start of the season. Hearing from spectators over at the far side that that number 96 Turner car, driver has stayed in the car. Who was it that was in that car?
Patrick Gallagher.
It was Patrick Gallagher, was it? Okay. He's trying to fire it, but there's just a faint clicking noise. There's still electric power to it because the number panel is still illuminating, the light is still on. Thanks to Jake Parrott, who's been eyes and ears around a number of parts of the circuit, listening in on 107.9 FM, of course, around the track. And if you are staying close by, you've got your RV here, and you're going to peel away for some stage, stick your FM radio earpiece in, and you can hear what's going on. I'm reliably informed that you can hear it quite a wee way away, certainly enough to go over to One Daytona and grab something to eat. All right, stand by your beds down in the pits, or at least stand by your wheel guns. Shea Adam, to you first, as we have the leader. The yellow-fronted Cadillac comes to you for service.
With all the other GTP cars, we've got the Meyer Shank Racing Acura hitting its marks first. Fuel and no tires going on the Meyer Shank Racing Acura. We've got tires for the Whelen Cadillac, though. Both of the Porsches are in. The number 6 is getting tires. The number 7 is not. 7 overshot its box by quite a bit, actually. It's needing to be pulled back. Driver change for the 24 BMW. That was Augusta Farfus getting out. Marco Wittmann, I believe, that was with the all-black helmet, getting aboard that one. We also have the driver's side door open for the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac. I did not see a driver change going on there, so I'm wondering if maybe that's a water bottle, but keep an eye on the name just in case as they leave the pits. New tires for the Cadillac, still waiting on any one of these cars to be able to leave. First one to leave is the MSR Acura. That's the pink one. They're pulling back the 6 so that it can leave because the 7 was still in its box, so Porsche blocking Porsche, but the number 6 managing to get out second. Then we have the number 10 for WTR Andretti, and then all the rest of them. The last one off the lane will be the number 7 Porsche, the one that overshot its box.
It did overshoot its box, and it had to, actually, because there was no choice. It couldn't get turned in any tighter. It was almost a full pit box too far. The 01 Cadillac also had an issue because they couldn't clear the 02 car, and they had to get pulled back. The Porsche number 6 had to get pulled back as well. So that is not perfect through there. That's cost the Porsche number 6 a position, actually, Shea. That went out in, it was rolling. It should have probably got out second in the line, but with that pullback, it had to drop in behind, I think it was the Konica Minolta Acura that got around it. So I think it'll be third in the line. Nick Damon, what was going on at your end?
Well, we had the entirety of the P3 field come in. That's the entirety of the P3 field losing. The key thing really is we didn't get many takers in the P2s. They just come in. So we did not see the leading P2s come in, or didn't go past me. In fact, I think I only really saw, I think the 18 did come in, and then the 8s come in, but that's the recovering tower car. So yeah, it was a P3 fest, but not P2.
Noticed that the Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport Konica Minolta Acura did take tyres, unlike some of its GTP counterparts there. So watch out for that number 10 Konica Minolta Acura of Louis Delacroix to be pretty racy as the stint progresses. Maybe not immediately, because he'll maybe have a little bit less temperature in compared to those who kept their existing cozy tyres on. But Colin Brown at the lead of the motor race after those pit stops. I tell you what, John, it's fantastic to see Colin Brown getting this opportunity.
Totally
He's
agree.
had so much success. Him and John Bennett have just been such a dynamic duo. But we've always known just how fast Colin is, and this is just the opportunity he needs to show and what he's made of.
Exceptional loyalty shown by John Bennett to Colin, and Colin to John Bennett, to the point where when Colin got the opportunity, John said, do you know what, I'm not sure I want to race with anybody else, which I thought was really interesting. Here come the GTD. Shea Adam, you've got a couple of the top runners with you, first of all.
Cardiff Racing is doing a pit stop change for the number 23, and Alex Riberas is jumping aboard, so that is one driver change. We've got Mike Conway, yes, that Mike Conway, world champion, jumping aboard the number 14 Lexus. Fuel and tires for both of these cars. Fuel and tires as well for the WeatherTech Racing Mercedes that came down and received emergency service, and it is now Jules Gagnon aboard them.
70 Inception McLaren, that sees Brendan Uribe getting out, Ollie Milroy getting in after playing with a tennis ball for half an hour to get his reactions up. Couple of 290. The 42 NTE Lavie comes in again. That was in quite recently, so they decided to top out in doing so. They've kind of semi-blocked the McLaren, which is going to be very unpopular. Beyond that, we have I can see an Aston Martin. I missed the numbers that went through, but there's a good take on the 57 Wimbledon's game. We've got the 32 Team Korkhoff, Mercedes, two of the Mercs, the harder races, the 23. They all now move. We also did get the number 1, the Paul Miller Racing BMW M4.
Daniel Morad on board the number 57 Windward Mercedes, a late addition to the team, of course, after Lucas Auer's unfortunate accident a couple of days ago. It's good to see that Lucas has had a successful surgery, and hopefully will make a speedy recovery. We wish him all the best. But great opportunity for Daniel, of course, former winner in the GTD category, don't forget, 5 years ago with Allegra Porsche. So great to see him, but he's become more closely affiliated with the Mercedes-AMG brand over the last couple of years, and quite a bit of that's been driven by Daniel's virtual motorsport. He's a Mercedes simulator driver as well, and that's kind of brought him into the cockpit in the outdoor world as well, which is great to see. I have to say, I've got to get used to this Mike Conway's helmet inside a GT car. This is just bizarre, actually. You get so used to a driver being in a certain environment, and Mike's been with Toyota for a long time in their prototypes.
Still a Toyota brand, isn't it?
Of course it is, absolutely. It means he hasn't had to get a new helmet painted up for the just a change of visor strip. But then you always find when drivers come to one style of racing, one style of car, to one that they're not familiar with, it doesn't take them very long to get used to it. Give it a little bit of mileage, and they're right there. You just see that good drivers are good drivers.
Jeremy, we did get an emergency stop. I think we briefly mentioned it. It was the 14 Lexus.
Yeah, which was running in the second place, right behind the Corvette in GTD. So I think that GTD Pro, excuse me. I think that car would have made an extra stop there because it needed to service the number 3 Corvette, however, that was leading the class. That came, didn't it? I think right before the caution came out.
Yes, that's correct. There was another emergency stop as well, which was the number 79, I think Shea's just said in my ear. That was the WeatherTech Racing Mercedes as well. Thank you, Shea, for reminding me about that. I had sort of put that to one side to try and remember to say, and then I got distracted. Odd of that. So back to the front then, after their tail change and that precautionary change of the tail after what looked to have been a brush on the wall for the Acura ARS06. I wonder if that was when Colin went onto the high side and made that massive move earlier on. Just brushed the right hand wing end plate on that number 60 car. So a tail change a couple of pit stops ago, which dropped them down because they did 2 pit stops in quick succession. Their pit lane team are absolutely on fire tonight for MSR, and they've got Colin Brown back into the lead as we are under full caution here behind the safety car. 20 hours 39 minutes exactly to go.
What's interesting is in the medium centre earlier they had a press conference with all of the GTP team principals, and you sit there with Roger Penske, Chip Ganassi, Bobby Rahal, Michael Andretti, Wayne Taylor, etc. And Mike Shank, bear in mind he won this race last year, won the Indy 500 in 2021, and he's so modest. He said, I just can't believe I'm sitting here. The fact that I'm sitting here is like an out-of-body experience, sitting with Bobby Rahal and Roger Penske, etc. And he needn't feel that way because he is here on merit, and they've really shown some fantastic pace with that team. And as you say, the the pit crew have been magic for MSR so far in this race.
Jeremy.
7th lead change then, with Colin Brown now taking over at the front. Quite a shuffle of positions there. They came into the pits in the order 0-1, 60, 10. Number 10 car remained in 3rd position. Number 02 car went from 7th to 4th. Number 31 car remained in 5th place. Number 01 car, however, fell from 1st all the way down to 6th. And then behind that, the BMW car number 24 made up a position at the expense of the number 7 Porsche. So the loser there was the 01 car. Scott Dixon is now at the wheel of that car, taken over from Renger van der Zande, who took over from Sebastian Bourdais, who started that car.
Is this Scott's? This is a big number for Scott. Is it his 10th successive race or something like that? Did I read earlier on the day? Have I made that up? Might even be more than that, actually.
Successive race. I can look that one up. This is Scott Dixon's
20th race. Yes, I knew that was a big number. Joe Bradley down in the pit lane. Before we go back to green, time for a quick driver interview. Who've you got, Joe?
Yeah, the number 16 Wright Motorsports Porsche has just come in. Zachary Rubichon has just got out. Zach, how was that stint? You Porsche guys have had to come into this race with a different mindset, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I think right now, every year at the 24, the first 18 hours is about making smart decisions, and this year it's even more important because you know, we just want to make it to the end, and we want to make it there with a car that's intact, that for whatever may happen before then and until then, that we have a car at the end, and I think that's the best way for us to get a result. So, you know, these restarts can get pretty hectic out there, so it's about making the right decisions and making it to the end.
Any issues there? You mentioned your drinks bottle. Describe that one, will you?
Yeah, my little chew thing fell off, so I was leaking all over me. I was like, at first I thought I was sweating a lot, and then I realized what was going on.
Yeah, as if the job's not hard enough. Is that distracting?
It is at Daytona because you got so much time to think about stuff on the banking. Normally you wouldn't even realize, but here you're kind of just twiddling your thumbs going through the banking, and you're sort of thinking, what is that going on there? But once you're in the infield, it's no problem at all.
Thanks, mate. I'll let you dry off. Thank you, Zach.
So we should are looking at the last of the cars getting the wave around. The number 91 Kelly Moss with Riley Porsche. That's Julien Andlauer at the wheel of that car again. One of Porsche's top young drivers, just hurrying to get back to the end of the line before we go back green again. Also the Pfaff Motorsport Porsche, the red and black plaid machine, last year's GTD Pro champions and GTD champions from the year before, with Zach Robichon and Lawrence Vanthoor. Zach, we just heard from there with the interview with Joe, and it hasn't been their weekend, but it's a long race, and they're very, very good at executing strategy, and as I think also the Wright Motorsport crew, as Zach mentioned there too, really know how to make the absolute most out of a 24-hour race as well. Pace car lights are off. Oh, are they? Yes, they are. So pace car is in, about to go back green, John.
Safety car comes into the pit. We have 4 different safety cars representing the 4 GTP manufacturers. There were 4 wide coming to the start of the race, which was rather impressive on its own. Bit of weaving around from the leader there. Colin Brown trying to break the toe coming on the tri-oval with Mathieu Jaminet. Dives down into the first corner. There's a decent gap there. Second of the Porsches going really deep into turn 1, and Matt Campbell's gone by at least 1 car. Caught Marco Wittmann rather unawares there as Campbell comes through. Big lot of 1 car further ahead. That was the 31 Alexander Sims driven Whelen Engineering Cadillac. That was into turn 3, the International Horseshoe. So things getting pretty feisty very, very early on, and clearly Matt Campbell feeling the opportunity to make up some positions while everybody is line astern after the restart. Running the red light at the pit exit has been spotted, and that will be high-class racing coming back in the pit lane and standing still for a full minute.
That is a really painful penalty there for high-class racing at the moment. They're sitting 9th in class with Ed Jones at the wheel, a few laps behind. Era Motorsport showing as leading in LMP2, a lap ahead of everybody. As a change for the, was that a change for the lead?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. Well, the
Yes, it was.
Porsche,
The two Porsches coming off
for second. Colin Brown's gone. He's checked out. This is a battle for second position between Jaminet and Delatraz. So Porsche versus Acura on the high banks, and Colin Brown, he's checking out. He's like, see you later, guys.
Side by side with the number 10 Connington Minolta car and the red and white striped number 6 as they go down into turn 1 now and turn in. Still side by side and still with the Alexander Sims driven number 31 Cadillac behind them. So Jaminet must have lost second place and then regained it going into turn 7. WeatherTech car is going to be back in as well for a drive-through. That was spinning the wheels whilst off the ground. I tell you who else is pretty feisty as well, and that's Matt Campbell, looking at 3 Cadillacs ahead of him. Scott Dixon, Richard Westbrook and Alexander Sims all ahead of him now. And there's been a change there as Scott Dixon's gone ahead of Richard Westbrook. And now Richard Westbrook coming under pressure from Matt Campbell. And that is the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th position. Looks like Scott Dixon now is setting about the 31 Alexander Sims Whelen Cadillac, as they're already starting to catch cars that weren't right on the back of the safety car train when we went back to green flag. Absolutely no doubt about this, that number 60 Acura in clear air in particular, gentlemen, is quick. We saw it with Tom Blomqvist earlier on, and Peter was seeing it again with Colin Brown, able to seemingly pull away, particularly from restarts.
Absolutely, restarts is the thing that when the tyres are not quite at their absolute maximum, the absolute optimum, temperature and pressure, whether it be Colin Brown or Tom Blomqvist, they're really mastering these restarts. And I tell you what, when we come into the crucial final couple of hours tomorrow, late morning, early afternoon, that's going to be such a vital attribute to have in their locker. Don't forget, they've got Simon Pagenaud and Elio Castroneves sitting waiting to come into that car as well, so the depth they have in their driver lineup as well. They're in a really good position right now, number 60, Mershank Racing Acura.
Elio and Simon told me they had a really complex jigsaw to finish before they wanted to get into the car. It's not true, by the way. Potential gearbox issue for the Liqui Moly Turner BMW that has been towed away, actually, from turn 5 down at the western end of the infield. It's on its way back to the pit lane. So Brown, having cleared off to around about 2 seconds ahead of the field from Jaminet in second, then Delatraz. Alexander Sims still holding on in 3rd position. Jeremy, you were spot on. You thought the number 18 car had been a little ambitious on the wave by, and in fact it has. So that'll be a very punitive penalty.
That's the Motorsport. I did think it was bizarre that they'd gone a lap ahead of everybody, John, but improper final wave by procedure. Car 18 Era Motorsport. Dwight Merriman is the car owner on board at the moment. He's been able to get quite a bit of his driving time out the way. Ryan DL took a single stint earlier on, but Dwight just taking that away. But stop plus 3 minutes 20, that's at least 2 laps he's going to lose, maybe even 3. Depending on how it falls.
It's always a function of the lap time. Let's go to GTD, check out what's happening there. Roman De Angelis leads for Hartnell Racing in the 27 car. His team car, the number 23, the pro car, Alex Riberas having a look round the outside of one car and now diving down to the inside of another. That's the number 57, Daniel Morad-driven machine. That is the GTD third position car. So at the moment, Harter Racing first and second in two different classes in GT Daytona.
What a fight back from the number 57 Windward Mercedes crew. They had to start very near the back because they had a big accident earlier in the week. They had to fly their mechanics back to Texas, load the spare car into the truck, drive it here, and they had it ready to go middle of the next afternoon. And the fact that they started near the back of the pack, they at the moment are fourth of all the GTD cars, third in the GTD class. Daniel Morad doing a top job at the moment at the wheel of that car as well. It's got a slightly different livery on it. It was white, blue and red. It's now black, blue and red. I think that's due that they having to get it stickered up, the car, of course, and it's should we say closer to what it comes from the factory like as well. Richard Westbrook, that restart hasn't quite gone to plan for Westy in the 0-2, just dropped back to a couple of positions. He's in 7th overall at the moment behind Matt Campbell and Scott Dixon, but the GTP absolutely on top of each other. All of the cars that haven't had, apart obviously with put aside the number 25 BMW that's had the issues earlier on, all the GTP cars right on top of each other on the lead lap. It's fantastic. But Colin Brown opened up a gap of 1.7 seconds to Mathieu Jaminet. Mathieu actually brought half a second down of that gap last time around, so the French star, relatively inexperienced in prototype machinery, an absolute demon in GT machinery, won the GTD Pro class last year here at the Rolex 24 in the most dramatic circumstances. If you've not seen it, well, wait until Monday and watch it on the IMSA YouTube channel, because it's one of the finest finishes to a motor race ever.
Yeah, that car was looking pretty pristine until those last couple of hours. There was a bit of paint that got changed. At IMSA Radio, if you want to get in touch with us, 20.5 hours still to go. John Hindhaugh and Peter Mackay on the 5th floor. Jeremy's going to step away for a moment and grab a bite and a bit of a pit stop.
He's glued to his lap charts as well. I don't know which I'm in awe of more, these incredible drivers or Jeremy doing his lap charts. My brain just could not work that quickly, I'm afraid, as well. Gap again as it comes and goes through traffic at the front of the field. Colin Brown opened up now back to 2.2 seconds, so the half of a second that Jaminet took. Colin Brown is just taking it straight back again. Now, the Era Motorsport car is still at the front. They've only got a few laps to serve their penalty, 4 laps to serve their penalty. They can't be far away from that now. So,
well, and the high-class car as well.
That is definitely. Is it?
They've just come and gone.
It. Yeah, they've just served it in the nick of time. I guess 4 laps gives you. Is that enough time for an argument? I guess it was. It is.
3 times across start-finish before you've got to answer the penalty. Otherwise, it will mean that you get additional sanction applied to it. Collins pulled out to 2.2 seconds and has stabilised that at the moment from Mathieu Jaminet. 36.9 last time around, 37.4 for the chasing Porsche.
Interestingly, the Acuras are the only cars to break into the 35s in this race so far. 35.6 as the Era Motorsport car comes in to serve that 3-minute and 20-second stop penalty.
The library book, you can read a couple of chapters while he's sitting there.
Well, Dwight Merriman, he can maybe check his stocks ticker. He works in the financial industry as an entrepreneur investor. And he might be able to get a little bit. Maybe he's got a ticker in the car telling him how the stocks and shares are going. But that's a shame for the Era Motorsport team. But they'll fight back. They'll fight back for sure. And of course, in that improper wave by procedure, of course, there was a gain, and this is why the penalty is as punitive as it is. Of course, all penalties are served right at the end of the pit lane. There's a penalty box where the teams have to drive along, stop there under the supervision of the IMSA officials, who stand there with a handy stopwatch, make sure that the penalty has been served in full. So it's incredible. In GTD, the mixture between the GTD cars with the green number boards on them and the red number boarded cars of the GTD Pros completely mixed up between them. We've seen 3 out of the 4 practice sessions, a GTD car was top of all of the overall GTD cars, including the Pros. So quite amazing. One thing that stood out to me is the Corvette have been quite quiet all week, just generally going about their business, but they've really surged to the front here in this race. A great starting stint from Antonio Garcia and his teammate Jordan Taylor coming in now and up into second position in all the GTDs, top of the class as well. So, number 31, Alexander Sims, just on the flank of the podium. 4th in just outside the podium positions at the moment, as he's in a great battle with the Porsche. Number 963 in the car number 7 has just gone by Alexander Sims once again. So Campbell and Sims are trading positions back and forward. Again, Matt Campbell, an incredible driver. We'll never forget his pass to win the Bathurst 12 Hour in 2019. Quite inexperienced in prototype machinery, you'd never know.
Those Porsches have been pretty good since the restart. Chatted with Mathieu Jaminet early on. He thinks the cars will come to life in the evening hours. They haven't done enough, they believe, time on the low temperature tyres, but they feel that the night time is the right time for the 963, and certainly they're picking up pace at the moment as they head into the darkness hours. It is, we're 40 minutes or so for official sunset, and then of course 7 o'clock is when we can start thinking about putting those low temperature tyres on. 7 tonight till 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Sun up is 7:14 in the morning. The Aero Motorsport machine still sitting there, soaking up that 3 minutes and 20 seconds. It'll feel like an hour down at the end of pit lane.
So the gap is coming down at the front of the field. 1.1 seconds between the Meyershank Acura of Colin Brown and Mathieu Jaminet, who hits a little bit of traffic as they come into the braking zone for turn 1, and it's down to 0.8 of a second now. So Jaminet is on the move for Penske Porsche Motorsport as well, but he looks like he's catching Colin Brown, but to be able to pass him, that's going to be another matter as well. Top class GTP racing at its best here.
Well, this is setting the standard, isn't it, in this first GTP race? Traffic on the infield for Colin Brown. A couple of Lamborghinis he's had to deal with there. Doesn't quite get the line through the Western Horseshoe, but the fortunate thing for him was that behind him, Matt Campbell had exactly the same problem with the blue Lamborghini that he'd gone past 2 corners before. Now heading out onto the high banks, and does the Porsche get a clean run? Not bad, just had to pinch it down a little bit for the second of those Lamborghinis. Now the Porsche gets the run. Seems to run much higher than the other GTP cars, even when it's sitting on its own. The leader into the braking area, down towards the Le Mans chicane. This feels significant to me, Peter. It feels like we're seeing something now that we've not seen in the first couple of 3 hours of the race, where people are beginning to pick up. They must feel confident that the cars and the pace of the cars can go a bit quicker. We're down into the 36s and the high 37s. We were running 38s and 39s earlier on. The track is cooling down to 73 Fahrenheit, which is 23 Celsius. That's come down quite a lot from the start of the race, as the leaders once again complete the lap down into turn 1. Another huge amount of traffic, and this time it's the Porsche that loses out, and in fact is being closed down on by its teammate. The 2 Porsches now, with the Acura number 10 in between them.
Oh,
they're all together.
Yes, they are. Yeah, so Matt Campbell is caught onto the back of Louis Delatraz in the number 10 Konica Minolta.
He's gone by. He's gone by. He's gone by Campbell.
Okay. So Mathieu Jaminet though right there as well. Brown just got a little bit of a better run through traffic. He opened the gap back up to 1.5 seconds. It's going to be quite a bit more, I would think.
Sorry, he's gone past Delatraz.
Yes, exactly. So Yeah, brilliant stuff at the front. Yeah, brilliant stuff.
Extraordinary
Brilliant
stuff. So, second place there, changed twice in half a lap. Delatraz had got by the number 6 car, and the number 7 almost made it, going into the international horseshoe, and then the positions swap back round again as they go on to the high banks.
Well, in the GTD category, it's equally exciting. We've got a GTD car with the green number board. Romanat De Angelis leads all of the GTD cars with the GTD Pro leader, Jordan Taylor for Corvette Racing. They've announced their brand new GT3 car, which will compete in competition in 2024 for the first time as well. But their current C8R pegged back from a GTE spec, but whoa, it's a proper machine, that.
Lots of work going on to get that 57 Winward car on the grid. What they haven't got on that car is any headlights at the front. There's the blue marker lights. And no, they haven't. I thought they'd just gone on there. You must have at least one headlight and one tail light. They've got marker lights on the front. Now, what I haven't, I'm going to have a closer look at that and see if they're just blue-coloured headlamp covers, but I don't think they are.
No.
So we'll have to keep it.
There's none at the back either. There's no tail lights either.
Let's have a look to see if the tail lights are on.
No, they're not on the front. It's yellow.
It's just the blue lights in the lower grille of that car. So
you would think they'd be on by now. Yes, it's only 5:25 here local time at Daytona, but there's been a cloud cover sort of creeping over all day, so the visibility is becoming a little bit less.
And that is third place in GTD for Daniel Moran.
Yes.
And maybe he just hasn't flicked the switch. So somebody needs to
He is Canadian. He's used to being in the dark. Maybe.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Oh, change in the GTPs, the number 7. Matt Campbell goes past Delatraz again as they come into the Le Mans chicane as well. So now it's Porsches 2 and 3. So Delatraz is back. No, there's 2 Porsches, John, 2 second and third. Masha Jaminet followed by the number 7 of Matt Campbell. As they come around
and then it's the 31 Cadillac, the other red-fronted car that's coming up next. Those very distinctive light signatures at the front of the Porsches, which go to purple for one of the cars and blue for the other when they come into the pit lane.
Corvette goes into the lead. Car number 3, Jordan Taylor, then leading in GTD Pro, leading all the GTD cars. Roman De Angelis, though, still leads his class, of course, reigning champion as well. Such a strong driver lineup there in that harder racing car, car 27. And of course, they've got their pro car, car 23, just a few positions back with Alex Riberas at the wheel, the Spaniard.
Don't forget the big story early on was the loss of the BMW M Hybrid V8. Conor De Phillippi completed just 39 laps before it went into the pit lane with hybrid problems. Now that car has rejoined, but has now just completed 39 laps. The leader is on 121, so they're the better part of 100 laps behind on the circuit. But learning, and that was a big strip down that had all the bodywork off. They were taking some internal components out of the side pods. Now, depending on which car it is, some of the hybrid battery components and converters are in there. Porsche have got a very clever asymmetric design that Multimatic put together, and balancing the car out side to side.
Great thanks to Johnny Palmer in the studio. João Barbosa is charging in LMP3. He's hit the front in the number 33 Sean Creech Motorsport car. So João into the lead of that class by 5.4 seconds at the moment from Jarrett Andretti's machine. João's a 4-time winner of this race, including back in 2003, where he won in class in a Mosler. Remember them, the Moslers. So he's had a long and illustrious career, has João, and it's great to see him. I saw him leaving breakfast this morning. He's got some very colourful race boots as well. It's very jazzy, lots of colours all over them as well. So great to have João still in the paddock, and he's not lost any speed whatsoever. Leader in LMP2 is the car number 35, TDS Racing. Josh Pearson leading by just 0.3 of a second from Scott Huffaker in the other TDS car, number 11. So it's going really well for TDS at the moment. The 35 is the red car with the light yellow accents, so red on the top, yellow on the bottom. The 35 car, excuse me, the number 11 car is the highlighter, yellow on top and red on the bottom. But TDS Racing, slightly different look this year. They ran the Racing Team Netherlands car. Yes, they did, but not here this year. Yeah, TDS showing just how good an operation they are. Some great drivers in those cars.
Well, they've got a lot of history in running all kinds of things. LMP2s originally, and P3s and P2s over in Europe. Good to see them back over here in the States, plying their training at the moment, bossing things with Josh Pearson and Scott Huffaker. Josh, going back to United, of course, later in the year to continue running with Richard Dean and Zach Brown's team.
They are, they are quite an operation, aren't they? I'm surprised we haven't seen them paired up with a manufacturer for GTP yet.
I think the
keyword of that sentence is yet. I don't have any information to anything, but I can imagine that it can only be a matter of time before they're paired up with a top manufacturer, because the way, look at this, just look at their record over the last few years, the amount of achievement that they've had, and to have somebody like Josh on board, he's just 16 years old. He raced last year as a 15-year-old on special dispensation with PR1, so great to see him back in leading the race at this point.
Daniel Morad must have heard us on 107.9.
Turn your lights on.
He found the light switch on the 57 car, and that they are on right now. I don't think it was a dispensation, actually, Peter.
Oh, was it not? Oh, my apologies. I thought it was a special permission.
Yeah, no, they actually got his birthday wrong. They got his date of birth wrong.
You're joking?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
It was an administrative mistake.
Right, my mistake. Do apologise, Josh. And he's at the ripe age of 16. Hello to Dario Franchitti, tuned in. And he's just tweeted the perfect two-car garage. He's got a red Porsche Carrera GT and I think it's a blue Lancia Delta Integrale. He's about to show off his. What a collection
it's dark grey.
Is it dark grey?
I can't remember.
Yes. I've actually seen him running around in Scotland in that red Carrera GT before. Very jealous. Very, very jealous. But great to have him tuned in. Of course, a driver who's a lot of experience at this race as well. And I don't think there's any prizes for guessing he's cheering for with his affiliation to Chip Ganassi Racing. There are two cars, excuse me, that are running in the race.
Interesting to see Dario's just down to two cars. I presume he still has
that very much.
Has
he not got a singer? He's got he just ordered. He recently took delivery of a singer.
I want to know if he's still got his motor house. He had an AMG C63 that he didn't want to get rid of and used as his daily driver for very many years. Joe Bradley is in the pit lane. Good evening to Joe, who is down at the... Now, I'm going to give them their full title here. Wayne Taylor Racing with Andretti Autosport. That's been a bit of a change since the last time we raced in IMSA competition. What hasn't changed is the man at the top. The man at the top of the stairs is still Wayne Taylor.
Yeah, what a collaboration, eh? There wasn't already a powerhouse win. I kind of like what we're seeing so far from GTP. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, very impressed, to be honest. I didn't expect to get to 4 hours with so little dramas. And if you think you would take the top, 8 cars, separated by very, very little, and